ma'am.
What is something that, or a person that love has been able to allow you to just be accessible to, and be open to?
Oh, personal growth. Like being supportive and of who I am, or helping me to understand who I am. I mean, yeah.
When was that moment that you got a chance to kind of see that personal growth and be who you are in love?
The moment. Well, when someone really held up a mirror to me, I guess that would be it.
Now, hearing that is somebody, that means someone outside of you,
Yes.
which means there is a community around you, somewhat that you've been able to build or be a part of that has gotten you to at least see yourself or a reflection of yourself, if that makes any sense.
Correct.
What were some of the things about hearing that alone? As someone, you said someone holding up a mirror, you have to be comfortable enough to be able to hold a mirror against someone else.
And I think I was shocked, basically. I wasn't, because I didn't, I hadn't seen myself that way. So it took me a moment to say, oh, well, you know, let me pull back and let me see what you see. And, oh, is that what you see? Oh, okay, well, let me take a moment and process that. So, yeah.
Hearing that out loud reminds me of when we, in the story of the Bible, Jonah. When Jonah went around and was in the town, he was like, he seen the people, and he was like, these are the same people that are so wicked and whatever. And even at that moment in time, he had to look like, oh wait, I am that same person that was just like them. When you get a chance to see yourself just like the individuals in your community and have gone around and done some of the things that you've done in your time, it gives you hope for a better community.
The fact that people have changed. There are people who are willing to play a role, who are willing to, number one, take time to think about the reality of their situation, and then two, acknowledge that they could play a role, and then three, they play the role.
The reality of the situation, that's a very big thing. There's a lot of things that are happening in our community, in the Brownsville community. And the reality of it is some of it goes unseen, unheard, and unspoken of. How do we as a community, when it comes to safety, and that's one of the biggest things about communities, protecting each other. Brothers and sisters are supposed to protect each other in all that we do. How do we get each other in check to see some of the things? Now, BCN we're trying to do a good job by just broadcasting some of the things that are happening. But what other things can we do or put onto our platform that can help just make sure that we are protecting each other and doing the things that we need to as a community?
All right, you're a little younger than I am.
Tell me something. Teach me something. Teach me something.
And I'll go, but I'm sure you're aware of the porch analogy, and the fact that from decades in our community, the streets were patrolled by older people who sat on the porch and who were aware of the dynamics of the community and were aware when something was off and knew the community well enough to know who to go to say, this ain't right. Or can you help me understand what's happening here? Before making a judgment about this is right or wrong, they at least raise a question. And so we have pulled physically away. Our buildings literally don't have porches. And we've lost the connection to the community, so even when we see something, we don't know whether or not it's right or wrong, or it's off, or it's on track. And so we really have to step outside of ourselves to actually play a role. And we know that sometimes today we'll say something, and people will say, well, how dare you? That's my child. You have no right to, although the kid is wrong. Anybody with any kind of sense knows they're 100% wrong. But there's a certain territoriality that people have about themselves and their possessions that reduces our ability to interact as a community. So, part of the discussion is one, just getting to know your street, your neighbors, who lives on the other side of you, and you observe them, but who are they really?
Who are they?
And And I said there's a 20-80 rule. I don't have to agree with you 100%. If I can agree with you on at least 20, we've got something to work with. And I won't, I'll overlook if I can the 80%. If we can agree on 80%, fantastic. We really are, in sync. But if we can just talk and say, let's agree on A, B, and C, and we'll leave D through Z for later, then it's okay, because we have a basis on which to communicate. But if we just say, well, I disagree with you, and I can't, and then, well, you're this and you're that, and you belong here, and you know. So the parents, for instance, or guardians who object when you question a child's behavior sometimes see that as a reflection on themselves. And that's what they're responding to, as opposed to how do we actually work together to correct the child? Because at the end of the day, that's an issue.
Yeah. So when you create a space like the farmers market, or when you're a part of the spaces like that we all need to eat. We all need to do certain things. What's not even just that, but in other aspects of the community, what is your stronghold or the thing that you're so proud of that you've been able to at least start in our Brownsville community?
Well, I don't know, proud, but I'll just say that sometimes I share with people that the farmers market was started out of depression and service. Depression because I had come back to Columbus after being away for a number of years, and even though I was in and out, throughout that time, it was still not on a sustained basis, and so things were different. You come back, and I wasn't able to establish myself the way I wanted to, as I had done other places, for a number of different reasons. I can say that, but so out of depression. I said, I need to walk the community and just see, is what I think is true. And I literally spent I would just walk. Just different blocks, different routes, just looking for things, not looking for things, just observing, literally just walk. Between here and Franklin Park, just walked.
What made you and it doesn't sound like you had not a thought of being safe or if you were okay.
No, because I grew up safe in the community. And even though I knew things had changed, I relied on the history, plus I relied on how I've handled myself in other situations. So there are very few places that I've moved where I've been uncomfortable. Okay?
So you had a chance to walk up and down Franklin.
So I walked up and down all over. And then, I mentioned service. And my parents were strong civil rights activists. I grew up with the Black Liberation Movement. Half the family was social workers. It's always, there's something. And so I knew that whatever I was going to do had to be something that added value. And I started with the first garden simply because tearing up the earth released that negative energy from depression. So I literally tore up the backyard of our house. My mother was like, okay, you gotta get out of here. I like grass. You gotta get out of here. So I looked around, okay, so where else could I go? What else could I tear up? I literally was just going around looking for grass to tear up and put in a garden. And from that, and then looking at the community, having discussions with people, I really began to understand the issues around food sovereignty within the Near East Side. And that's kind of a big statement, but it's more than not having a grocery store. It's more than having beer and diaper stores on every other corner. It's a lot more. It's systemic. It's societal. It is. It's perceptual, because even with the gardens, I had people who would, I get emotional sometimes, but particularly young men, come up and say, well, you know, and I would talk with them, you know, and they would say, well, why are you doing this? You sound like you should be working in an office somewhere. Why are you know, or literally would say, that's old-timey stuff, that's slave labor. Why are you doing, you know? And I would say, no, this is important because you need to eat. And even recently I was at an event for athletes, and people were like, are you really going up in here with this food? And I was like, yeah, because it's important for everybody to expose. And these young men, one said to me, he said, why? Because I would say, oh, you know, everybody should grow a tomato. That's kind of my opening line. Because everybody should grow a tomato. It's very easy, whatnot. And he looked at me and was like, well, why would I grow a tomato? And I said, well, you know, my spiel, you get started. And he says, I'm an athlete. I will always have somebody else to fix my food. And I was like, young man.
Only if it worked like that.
But this is the thinking. This is how they've been socialized and conditioned. Okay? And others.
That made me think of, that's so crazy because I could see how someone would say someone else is also going to protect our community. But we don't have to make our own food.
We shed ourselves of all responsibility.
So that someone else can do that for us.
So very often I would say, okay, it's not just about the earth and the seeds and the planting. It's also about trying to understand what's in somebody else's head before they speak. So that you can begin to answer their arguments before they voice them. So that they'll be open to discussion. And so that becomes, even with the market, and you know, we say Mount Vernon is like a dividing line. And there's a housing development across the street. And we've gone over there and passed out hot cards and whatnot. And people have said, well, we didn't think that market was for us. So we have the young people who think that growing and working in the dirt is slavery, or reminiscent of slavery. Then we have people who say, well, fresh food is for the gentrified part of the community.
And it's funny because with BCN, one of the things that we're trying to do is also bridge that gap between our young and our old. But it's so funny when both see two different spectrums of the thing that can save both of us. Isn't it interesting?
And I'm telling you, the third year, we were same location, and then the last market day, I said, we're moving the market across the street. Everybody looked at me, I said, let's go. We're not going to set up here. We're going to set up, and this was before they got those containers down at the PNC Bank. We set up there. That space was open, and we set there. And people shopped. One woman called. She said, "Honey, come here." And somebody went over, and she gave me $10. They said, "What do you want?" She said, "Just buy something. Whatever my $10 will get me." Just because she said, "I can't come out, my leg, whatever." She said, "Just give me $10 worth of something." So, you know, we literally, you cross the street, people said, okay, I guess this is for us. But we go back across the street, and people say, the other thing that's problematic for me, and sometimes I have fairly intense discussions about, is this whole mixing of market and pantry. Because there's a growing dependency on free food. And I'm not failing to acknowledge that many people are so under-resourced that they literally cannot buy, you know, an apple.
Exactly.
Okay? At the same time, I think that there is a undermining of people's capacity to be responsible for themselves by the provision of fresh food, free food.
Isn't it interesting how it all can come back to we would rather at times spend on certain things and not the things that can benefit us. But sometimes it's also not knowing the best, like financial literacy is something that if we put into our communities more, and educate about some of the things that we are wastefully doing, and then also resources that we can come back and add.
Right.
That I can totally see how it can be a better conversation and wages the gap of, all right, it's not that we don't have it to spend on this, it's that we're willing to spend it on something else, so that when we do come into our community, it doesn't seem like there's enough value put into the things that we also hold really valuable.
That's it. That's literally it. And you know, and I think that it's important to characterize it. The free food is pantry, and the market you pay.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have so many people who come up who say, "Oh, this isn't free. Can I just take this?" I'm like, no. But last year, for the past 3 years, actually, we sold food at $1 a pound. Okay. This year we had to increase for different reasons, so now we're $2 a pound.
Okay.
Now, how is it that you can't afford $2 a pound, and we have vendors who accept the electronic benefits? So you can use your SNAP, you can use your WIC, you can use your
resource to be able to get
exactly, but it's just a perception that this kind of environment is not for me.
So what do we do? What is, as we have a communication network, we have access to, what do we start to promote that's going to get us so that people can understand that this is for, because to hear that this is slavery, to hear that notion means that it's been pre-registered from something, some source, maybe TV, movie, whatever the case may be. But what does a communication network, what can we do to help provide just the knowledge about something?
Well, I mean, that's it, is to provide the information, and then two, walk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, August 17th, we have a focus, we're building up the brothers. We want to focus on getting as many brothers as possible into the market.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow it's the seniors. We had children last week, and we have free books that we gave away for pre-K through 3rd grade. Later into the month of August, we'll give away middle school and upper. We have single mothers. We try and target different groups of people to come in on the different weeks
Mm-hmm.
to be the base, and then it's open to everybody, of course. So tomorrow, for instance, we have free plants. Someone's donated, has some plants, and we said, fine. So we'll have some tickets, and then we'll do a drawing, and people can win a plant. It's just something fun, just something to keep people going and to pull people into the market and to get them interested. And then we explain about the food. When was the last time you had a white beet?
When was the last time I had a white beet?
Trick question.
I have never had a white beet.
Exactly. Well, I have white beets. So you can come to the market tomorrow and buy white beets. Absolutely.
And then would I get a chance to learn about what a white beet does to my cells, to my body, to all of those things?
I have white, yellow, and red. So we don't even know. And so part of our discussion is we don't use the word diet.
Mm-hmm.
We say we want good nutrition, we want healthy living,
Mm-hmm.
and we want you to explore, because we have a very limited palate. Just as we have constrained ourselves in how we interact in the community, so we've constrained ourselves in what we eat.
Mm.
So last week I had purple peppers. People were like, oh, purple green peppers, beautiful. They went like that. Yeah, purple green peppers, gone. Next week we're gonna have an okra festival, because, and so you're really getting me, okay. Part of our discussion, and part of why a young person can say to me, I don't want to get my hands dirty because that's slavery time, is because there's been a serious disconnect between what Africa has contributed to the world in terms of contemporary agriculture and what we know to be true.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
So people can name 10 different kinds of potato chips.
Yeah.
Some of these I'm just like, I don't even understand why. Why would you even begin to come up with pickle flavored potato chips? I don't get it, but okay. So there's a corporate mechanism behind the promotion of an assortment of flavors because it's in their interest. But it's in our interest to understand that every plant in the world was born someplace.
Just like every child in the world.
Every plant has a home. Technically, they're called indigenous botanicals. So African indigenous botanicals are those plants that started their life in Africa, on the African continent. One of which is okra, which got me started. Okay? So people talk about, oh, okra is slimy, okra is this, okra. I said, okra is something that we brought with us and has become a mainstay of particularly Southern, American cooking because of us. All right? And so there are different ways and there are reasons why, but okra is one of the most nutritious and beneficial vegetables that there are. And the part that we don't like, the slime, comes from the seeds. So if you take the seeds out, it really reduces. And people, but there are other ways you can also eat it. You don't have to just eat it, Plus, the seeds are actually the most nutritious part. So you should actually eat them.
Yeah.
All right? So we want to help people expand what they eat in the hopes that they will understand why they are eating such a constrained diet.
And then even who they are. If you was to know that this is,
And who they
if
are.
you can relate it to your food, then you can also relate to yourself.
Exactly. So there are all these different discussions that we try to have just through selling food.
Yeah.
And it's not heavy. We don't, it's not, but we just really kind of work with people and say, and then I've always come back to what can you grow, given your space. It doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what conditions you live under, everybody can grow something.
What can
You just don't know because you don't know enough about, what grows in the shade or half shade versus morning shade versus afternoon shade, and they're all different versus full sun.
And if you can go and research that about plant, what else can you go and research about? We'd like to walk the walk and talk the talk, for sure, when it comes to, so the dates that you gave that we are going to be doing something is
August
August
17th is Building Up the Brothers.
Building Up the
So
Brothers.
we want to get as many brothers as possible into the market. One, because so many brothers are actually hesitant
Yeah.
to talk about food or to be responsible for their own diet.
Responsible for their own diet.
Their
Not
own diet.
just like someone said, someone else should be the one that worries about their diet for
Right.
them. What about if you were the one
So
that
even
was
people who consider themselves responsible and
athletic?
they still will go home and eat something frozen or eat something or wait for something to be prepared or go by the drive-through and get chicken. Now, we've had discussions about this is a food desert. It's also a food swamp. Have you heard that? Okay. The food desert is when there is when a resident cannot access affordable, nutritious food within 1 mile. So from the 17th of Mount Vernon, we've clocked the closest full-service store is where? What would you say is the closest full-service store?
Probably 2 miles away.
Which would be?
Somewhere probably gas stations wouldn't be a full service, probably a Kroger.
The Kroger is 2 miles away.
Look at that.
That is not the closest. The closest is Hillman's at Gay and Grant, which we don't even identify with as being part of the community.
Yeah.
In part because of the freeway, but then you've got Fort Hays and Columbus State. And so it seems as if, those are separate
from the community.
Exactly. But the closest market is actually Hillman's. Having said that though, even if we understood it was there, would we use it? No. because we call it a junior Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It is extremely expensive, and it was put in for people who live downtown,
Yeah.
who have fairly decent salaries.
And wages that they can afford things like that.
So the closest is Hillman's, but the most affordable, selling nutritious fresh produce, is 2 miles away, and therefore is not accessible.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, what this means is Near East Side residents live in a food swamp. And it's a swamp because there is a proliferation of highly caloric service establishments. So you can get fried chicken from 4 or 5 different places.
But you can't get
You
a
can
piece
get-
of that from anyone. Gotcha.
You can get greasy Chinese,
But you can't get a
but
carrot.
you can't. I mean, I suffer sometimes. The patty shop, he has a jackfruit patties. Well, I have to call ahead because he doesn't keep them in stock as he does his chicken and beef patties because people come in and out. His vegetarian customers, we have to call ahead and pre-order because it's not enough people don't buy them on a regular basis.
So now we gotta
But
get
that's still it's baked, but still it's yeah. But we don't have. I can't get a salad.
Yeah. Unless you're getting a fast food salad. And that's
No. Where? Wendy's was Wendy's on Broad Street.
yeah.
You can do Wendy's,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Well, we're gonna try our best to walk the walk and talk the talk at least, and come up to some of these events and be a part of it. And if we can at least shine light on some of the things that is happening there, and at least brothers that look like us can see each other on the screen
Right.
and say, "Oh, well, all right. Well, maybe it's happening there. I should be there too next time, because this isn't going to be the first time we do this event. This is going to be the last time we do this event, and hopefully other events that come from there we are part of also." Is there anything else that we can do? I would love to see if there's anything that BCN we can do as a network to help, other than knowledge, other than shining light.
Just shine the light. That's it. It's really, we're here, and very often people say they don't, they're not aware of us. This is our 6th year.
And this is what this is one of the biggest things that we want to do is bring awareness.
And I'm going to tell you, there's a difference. I remember the first year, literally, someone who you actually interviewed bought some beets, went home and fixed them, and literally brought some back to me. He called first. I was like, "Oh, these beets are the best beets, are the best beets." I was like, "Yeah, I know. No, they're the best beets." And then he fixed his dish and brought some to me to prove.
Just how
Other people come up now, it's corn season. "Oh, that's the best corn we get. Oh, that's the best corn. I've never had corn." I'm telling you, there is a difference in the food.
When it's made with love, a lot of things changes.
There is a difference in the food. And it's hard for people to believe that. But because the other thing was that last year, the year before, I started passing out raw corn as a sample. And I just would break a cob into like 6 small pieces. And people were like, "I can't eat that, it's not cooked." And I said, "Do you understand how long we as humankind ate raw food before we started cooking? Almost everything out here you could eat raw. And you should eat raw. And I'm not pushing a raw diet. I just, again, want us to expand our thinking. And once they sample, I said, I wouldn't give you anything to hurt you.
True.
So just try it. And people would try it and say, "Oh, this is brilliant." And really, to eat really fresh sweet corn raw,
Best thing?
I'm telling you, it's outstanding.
I'm going to come and grab some now that you said it like that.
Outstanding. And then I would find people say, "Oh, no, I want some more, come get that." I said, "Okay, fine." But I just wanted you to understand that even if you don't take any, know that you can eat raw corn. Know that other food that we can eat it raw, and it's okay. So just think about, why have we been conditioned not to eat it in its pure state?
We're conditioned to not be even in our own pure state at the same time. Thank you, Ms. Julia. I appreciate you so much for your time.
Hope that helped.
It more than helped. I thank you so much.